your advice to someone who just started a career in VC?
Just started a career in VC. It's for the long term. You got to enjoy it. Honestly, this sounds, maybe it's just me. I just don't think you should do it if you don't enjoy talking to founders. I did not go into VC for the money. To me, this notion that, oh, the VC, you make all this money, like, you don't. You only do it if the companies are successful. Like, otherwise, it's a bare bones. It's a nice salary. I'm not denying that, but the reality is there is no big payout. The feedback loop in venture is several years, right? You invest in a company. Think about it. You invest in a company, it's not going to go public in less than 10 years. Very few do. Pure Storage was the fastest growing systems company on record. Okay, those investors did well, but most do not. DocuSign went public after 17 years, which is standard. Smartsheet went public after 14 years, right? Like, it takes a decade plus. And only then when the investors invested. Braze went public after, 13, 14 years as well. So these things take time. If you're in venture, you've got to really enjoy talking to founders. And I think it's the best job for me. I've never been more happier in a professional environment. And the second piece I would basically say is be very focused in specific spaces. If you build up domain expertise, I think people will be successful.
That's awesome. And on the flip side, I also want to talk about if somebody's just starting out, maybe they don't get to work with LPs or work on that side of things. But since you just raised another fund successfully, what about that side of the LP side, which often, as a founder, we don't get to hear a lot about that. VCs have their own kind of shop to run in a certain way. I'd love to hear your perspective on managing the LP side.
Managing the LP side, not to go too much into it, but look, the reason I have empathy for founders doing fundraising, because I'm doing fundraising myself. Right? So every few years, a VC fund needs to raise money and raise a new fund. There's a bunch of funds that will have had challenging times doing that. We weren't lucky because we've worked at it for 15 years. I joined, I was advising the firm before I joined, but because this was fund 5, we had to expand the fund and grow it. It just takes a lot of effort. So, on average, you can talk to an investor up to 50 times before they decide to invest, right? But managing the LP base, that starts to become standard motion. Once they're invested, I think you've got to manage the relationship for your next fundraise. You've got to be able to provide timely updates. You've got to continue to be excited about what you're building. And you've got to, just like founders do, founders don't have to be vulnerable as much, but they do have to be honest and straight up. And we think that being very clear about discipline of our strategy, focused of our strategy, the founding team being collective together, I think that's been important in being able to manage successful LP relationships. And I think ultimately when LPs invest in a fund, they're investing in a strategy and a team. So, that's what we're able to do.